There's one goal here, and one promise I made to Mrs. Ford is winning. For that to happen, everyone needs to be on the same page to be in the best position with the right plan. Every person in this building has a job to do, and each job is important. If we can get one step better every day, that's putting this organization in the right direction.
Donald steps up in the pocket, now throws. It is picked up by Rice. Comes back right side. Inside the 10. It is Quandre deep to the 5. To the house. Touchdown, Detroit Lions. How about Stafford opening it?
Oh, my God. It is Sir Mix-a-Lot booty thick.
All right, here we are live from Radio Row, Detroit Lions Podcast, bringing you the latest from the 2020 Senior Bowl. I'm joined by Andy, the Sandman, and Jeff, the Riz Risen. How are you guys doing this morning?
It's a little warmer today, so I'm feeling a little bit better today.
Slightly warmer.
Slightly.
We're still by the door,
Right.
which still is allowing cool air in, but
Right.
not as bad.
It's not as active today. There's not as many people walking in and out today, which is nice.
And I think that's going to ramp up here in a little bit, so we'll see. We got some big stuff coming. We got a interview with Next Gen Stats.
Yes.
And they're coming by, so we'll talk about that. We wanted to hit some of the stuff that people were talking about this week with the fact that they were worried about the practice. Some of the national press and the complaining they didn't like the Patricia practice, and we wanted to give let people know what we saw and kind of set the record on a little bit. We're also in touch with the Lions organization, and we will have a guest from the Lions as well some point today or tomorrow. Looks like we're getting some good stuff, got some fun stuff. A couple other interviews we're working on as well.
Yeah,
all right, let's start the discussion today. Senior Bowl. It was horrible yesterday. It was miserable. We walk out as Lions fans and we're absolutely embarrassed what we saw on the practice field. I know, Andy, you were there just horrified by everything. Let us know. I mean, should we cash in? Should we move on, be Raiders
First of
fans?
all, I couldn't believe that they held a Lions practice. How dare they?
Right.
How dare they run a Lions practice?
And they held them to under 100 points.
Yeah, it's it was funny. We did see a couple running back screens that worked to perfection, but that's normal. That's normal for us. But to me, the practice was 100% a Patricia-led practice. It looked like an NFL practice. I'm not sure if that's what people want here. Probably not, especially the media. They want to see one-on-ones. They want to see guys against guys. The Lions did a good amount of stretching. Yeah. They did a lot of team drills where everybody was involved. They did have some one-on-ones where Jeff was down and watched that, but it wasn't nearly as much as what the Bengals were doing. The Bengals practice was basically the combine, but live.
Yeah, that's a good way to describe it.
And I think that's where some of the frustration comes in. And this is one of the things I think that it's a philosophical situation, right? Matt Patricia brought these kids in and gave them an NFL practice, got them NFL experience. Also, the practice went from one side of the field to the other side of the field. They were moving. The coaches, the players, everybody had to move. That's the one thing that I heard consistently with everybody that wasn't Lions beat media, and that's I think that's an important distinction. They all, to a person, said, "You gotta walk from one side to the other."
And I did it because you guys saw me do it. I was in the whatever end zone, the end zone near where you enter, and that's where the offensive and defensive linemen were working out at the beginning, and then they did the pit at the other end of the field. It's not easy to get from one end to the other. You got to walk through a maze of people. There's 1,000 people on the sideline. You got to walk through the narrow gate area. Then you get down there, and you get, probably 30 reps of the pit, and they blow the whistle. They do punt drill. They go back in individual team, and then they recreate the pit at the other end.
Right.
The pacing of it from a media standpoint was poor. The pacing of the practice itself was better than the Bengals. The Bengals were slow transitioning from drill to drill. The Bengals were slow. The Lions have a lot more people on the field: staffers, assistant coaches, ball guys. Their support staff is much more on the ball than the Bengals one is, and I think that gets lost a little bit. But like you're saying, they ran a Detroit Lions practice and not necessarily a Senior Bowl for the media for auditioning practice.
And I think that's such an important point because look, the coaches and players had to go from end to end on the field as well, right? I know it's harder for the media. It's hard for the media to do that, but it's where's your focus? Is it on the media? And of course, they're important in one of these practices. The coverage and so on is important for the brand. It's important for the whole piece. But is this really about the kids, or is it about the media? And I think this is about the teams, the kids, and the Lions absolutely use this practice and these sets of practices to get to know these kids. You watched on every drill that they were down there. Hank Fraley was in with every kid after every rep, coaching, talking, evaluating, watching that change and making sure they're getting it right. It was a great example of staff working with these kids and evaluating these kids and giving them experience that they absolutely need.
Bo Davis, the defensive line coach, was very involved in the pit at the other end too. It's not safe for children to listen to. He's dropping some bombs. So is Patricia, by the way. But
you could hear those across the field. You didn't have to walk.
We were on the opposite side.
So
we could hear them.
Patricia is generally in the middle of the field, sort of in the middle of the action, orchestrating and directing everything. And you can hear him. He was out there in shorts yesterday, and I'm wearing like 5 layers of clothes, freezing my nuts off. It was
like Ragno ice fishing.
Yeah. Yes. Exactly. I feel your pain, Frank. It's going to be a little bit warmer today. I think we're going to see more. One of the big things that we didn't see yesterday in the Lions practice that we did in the Bengals was wide receivers versus defensive backs one-on-one. Yeah. We didn't, with the quarterbacks throwing to them. That's one of the big highlights that everybody wants to see here. Is that in the pit where you have offensive line versus defensive line going at it in mano-a-mano or duo-a-mano type of things. I think we're going to see some of that today. I think a lot of yesterday was also installing the base concepts, especially with the Lions defense. Now, the scheme is limited here. You can't blitz, so obviously that's perfect for Patricia. Insert your punchline here.
Already.
I know, right? You can't double team block with a tight end and a tackle among the blocking scheme things, so you don't get a lot of that. But they're trying to teach these guys how to block in line because one of the tight ends, and I forget which one it was, said yesterday he'd never lined up on the line before as a tight end in college. He'd never done it. So there's some adjustment period going on for a lot of these guys. The 2 of the tight ends are converting to be fullbacks here. That's new positions for them. You got wide receivers that are played only in the slot. They're moving outside and vice versa. The wide receivers on the North squad, which the Lions are coaching, are huge. Denzel Mims is what, 6'3", 215, and he's the 4th biggest guy.
Yeah.
They're crazy, and they're really, really good. And I know I thought we talked about it, Andy. We did not see a ball drop for a long time.
I was just about to mention, we didn't see a ball drop. We saw a ton of away from body ball catches, super extension on a couple of them.
Yeah.
It looked like, a very, very solid group, whereas the South did not look nearly
other than Van Jefferson, the South wide receivers, and the kid Jawan from Tennessee, I think it is, was good. But Van Jefferson was great. He put on a show. Sean Jefferson's kid, by the way.
Can I jump into somebody on the wide receiver range that I really
Please
loved
do.
yesterday?
Yeah.
I'm starting to fall for another Ohio State wide receiver. Terry McLaurin was my guy last year, right?
Yes.
KJ Hill out there was stunning yesterday. He had the moves. We put a video on. Of course, you get the greatest comments on YouTube. Someone say, he was out of bounds. It was a drill. Okay.
Right.
The moves and the way he just the defender, the corner that was covered him left his jock on the clock on that one to steal from Mickey Redmond. That was some sweet stuff. And I got a little bit more video of him. He is out there like butter. He is great. I like what I'm seeing from him. I may have another Senior Bowl wide receiver, Ohio State crush. I don't know why.
Wow. that would be something for 2 years in a row on that. But you liked Debo last year too.
Oh God, Debo. He was on. This year he's proved. So wait, hold on. Thank you.
Yeah.
God, I heard the boat horn all night last night sleeping. Do you hear from the canal where you're at?
No, I don't, actually.
The ambient noise is interesting. Can't hear each other screaming in pain, but
freezing to death.
So did your heat work in your place last night?
It did.
Good.
It eventually got up there.
Okay.
It was a cold night last night. I think we woke up, the inside of the Airbnb was 40 degrees.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
So we never recovered. Yesterday we just never.
Yeah. So it got down to like 25 here last night, which is freaky cold for Mobile. So all the people are whining and everybody's moving really slow. All the locals are out there like it's a ski lift.
Yeah.
It's kind of a fun environment. It's like 40 out now. I just walked over here from the hotel. It's not going to be. It's not a 3-dog night. It's like 2.5 dogs.
Oof. All right, that's where we're at. Anything else you wanted to cover, Sandman, from the practice or otherwise what we're looking forward to?
I'm looking forward to seeing what Patricia and team do today. Like you said, Jeff, they had infinite amount of coaches and staff on the field. So I'm looking forward to more movement from them, maybe seeing some more one-on-ones, seeing some more drills. Because like you said, I think that the installation is very, very important to Patricia. He does it every single year at Lions practice in Detroit.
He's playing to win this game. There is no doubt about that. Not every staff that comes here is playing to win the Senior Bowl. Matt Patricia wants to win the Senior Bowl.
Yeah, he's installing a ton of concepts with teamwork and lots of other stuff where most of the time this is an all-star game, basically. You got one-on-ones, that's all you care about. The North will be a team at the end of this.
Yeah. Now, if today's practice is the same as yesterday's, I might start to get a little nervous. I think yesterday, as you said, was baseline and getting everybody in place and getting ready to move it to the next level, because I think everybody needed to be ready for what an NFL practice looks like. Today, I expect a lot more drills. I think we'll see a little bit less of the special teams, but I think that's also part of a conditioning piece of the practice. You know, like in Lions practice in the training camp, you look, they have the 4 fields. There's always somebody kicking, right? There's always some special team stuff going on. And then at one point, they'll bring everybody in. They'll make them run the field a couple times doing special teams drills, and then they break back out to where they're at. It's almost like a commercial break between the different activities, right?
Yeah, and the special teams are a big point of emphasis for a lot of coaching staffs here. I was talking with Pigskin Paul, if you follow him on Twitter. This is my 12th, and I think this is his 20th Senior Bowl. So we were reminiscing. We did it publicly a little bit, and then we went private about it, about the best and worst practices that we can remember. And all of the ones that I remember being bad, and he verified this, were guys who like emphasized special teams a lot, but those teams always also won the game. Right. We've seen much worse. The year that the Raiders did it, and I can't remember who their coach was.
Tom Cable?
No, it was later than that. It was a tall guy. Can't think of his name. It's slipping me. Anyways, they were the worst because they like their coaches like didn't know each other very well. It was clear that they had hastily assembled their staff, and like there was disparate things going on. The defensive backs coach didn't know like the difference between the safeties and the cornerbacks on the team. He hadn't done any prep work at all. That's not the case with either the Bengals or the Lions this year. You've seen some good ones though, like when the Cowboys and Jason Garrett were here. They just basically like, all right, we're doing team drills for an hour, where it's 11 on 11. You're getting 3 reps apiece, then you rotate in the next guys, and that was gold for draft media like myself,
sure.
and for people that are here that scout and want to evaluate the players from that. It's tougher when you're doing individual group work. I mean, when you have your offensive linemen over here and your tight ends are over here and your linebackers are over here. And they're not going against defensive players, but what they're doing there is the coaches are seeing their range of motion. They're seeing if they can understand the concepts. It is very much more the Lions taking advantage of the situation to get more out of it than other teams would. And I don't think if you're a Lions fan, that's a problem.
Yeah.
I think if you're a fan of the other teams, it's a problem.
Yeah.
And I think that's where a lot of the grief is coming from.
Yeah, I mean, you can tell 100% that Patricia is Patricia, and he's railing in fundamentals. We watched offensive line work for 15 minutes or so.
Yeah, they were down in front of you guys for a long time.
Yeah, and they just practiced getting off the ball as a unit.
Yes.
Like, that's all they did. And that fundamental work pays off in the long run.
Sure.
Yeah.
But it's not fun to watch, per se.
No, it's not. One of the things that Bo Davis is big on is getting off with the right foot. If you're gonna attack a guy's inside shoulder and you're lined up to his left, don't take your first step with your left foot.
Sure.
There was one guy, and I'm not going to say who it was. If you watch the practices, you'll see who it was, who couldn't do it. He physically couldn't do it. It was like trying to retrain himself. And those are the little things that we do see when you're seeing the drills like that. And you have to pay attention. I think a lot of the people who haven't been here often. Again, this is my 12th. There's a lot of guys here who are year 1 or year 2 who don't pick up on that kind of stuff. This is. And the more veteran people and the NFL guys are all writing notes. So I was standing by Todd McShay for a long time yesterday. He's furiously scribbling notes on the form and the technique that the guys are using. And I think those of us who know what we're looking for a little bit more probably got a little more out of it than the people who haven't been around as much.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely fair. And I think there's, people were in a sour mood because it was cold.
It was cold.
it got colder as the practice went on. And I think it's fine. We'll see. We'll see what happens today. We'll go from there. Big practice. Can we put to bed one narrative? The Lions staff and how many people they sent. that field was it was fast, like you said. The assistants were there. They had all the right people there to coach the players and to get the information they needed in order to move this forward.
Yeah.
I think what I saw as far as how the staff operated in the field was better than what the Bengals brought. The whole idea that they didn't have the right people or hired people or whatever else.
That's hooey.
It's dead. It's dead. Kill
Yeah.
that thing and put a stake in it and make that fine part go away. Andy, what do you have for shutting down the rest of what we're doing here?
I think, we'll just have to see how the rest of today goes. I think the media will probably pep up a little bit about the Lions today, even if it's just in part because they're first, whereas yesterday they were second.
That's right. They do change the order today. The North goes first today.
Yeah, so, when you're out in the cold for 3 hours and then a new practice starts and then you have to watch dudes stretch for 20 minutes.
Yeah, and remember, we got no time in between yesterday. We were outside in the cold. I'm from Michigan. I'm going to complain here. It was cold yesterday. I was out there. I was freezing my cojones off. When you're out in the cold for 4 hours and you got to stand out there for 2 more, it's mentally taxing.
Yeah.
And they did run it a little bit longer. The sun went down, so it got really cold. We fortunately skated out at that point.
Yeah.
But it's
it got colder throughout the afternoon, right?
did.
And once that
It
sun
did.
disappeared, the icicles. I thought Mr. Cold Miser showed up, did his little shooting things. It was no
also the
fun for him.
bathrooms were closed, so there was a lot of angst for people who were trying to relieve pleural pressure.
I was a full water balloon for probably 5 minutes as I was trying to find the bathrooms. It was,
He said
yeah.
at the last hall, like the last 50 yards, he's going, Andy.
I had to psych myself up. It was close. It was really close.
We're all hoping this Senior Bowl related, not necessarily Lions related. They do it at Lad People Stadium, which is really old. I'm sure in its day it was a fine facility. It is not anymore. The University of South Alabama is about 10 minutes from here. They're building a gorgeous new facility. That's where a lot of things are going to be moving to there, and everybody is hoping that the Senior Bowl moves there too, because
There's a lot of discussion this may be the last year for Lad Peoples.
and that would be very nice. There's some political footballs being thrown down here to try to keep it at Lad, but we're
They're putting
all
in a
hoping that it
walking
moves.
trail
Yeah,
at Lad. Did you know that?
Yes,
That's one of the things we're doing to keep it. I don't know how that's going to help, but
Yeah, I've been to nicer stadiums in Texas, like high
yeah.
school.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, dude. Yeah.
I'll say one other thing. Later in the week, the teams agreed that they're going to swap players from one side to the other, like they did last year, and so each coaching staff will get an opportunity to coach the other team for a day. So that'll be good and interesting to see.
It is. With only 3 days of practice, that really gums it. I am going to complain. I still want 4 days of practice. Normally the first day was what we saw yesterday with the install and the players getting to know the coaches, understanding the expectations for it. Mm-hmm. Now that gets rushed into it one day, and then today will be the most intense practice. Wednesday is the best practice to go to.
Yep.
A lot of people will leave for the Thursday practice. Thursday is generally your game install. You're going through sort of a walkthrough.
Walkthroughs, yep.
And there's less man-on-man action. That came out weird. Less.
We're going to be mature.
Less offense versus defense.
We're putting our Senior Bowl faces on.
Yeah.
New shirts,
Sorry,
man
Mom.
on man action.
Check in next week with the Man on Man podcast with Jeff Risden. And from there, we're going to call it. We got next in stat. Never give him access to the buttons.
Don't let me touch buttons. They don't let me touch it in the radio studio. You shouldn't let me hear either.
The number one drop you'll hear on that podcast is the more you know. All right, that's going to do it for now. We got a lot more coming up. We got Next Gen Stats. We got some other interviews coming. We will get back with you, everybody, very, very shortly. Thank you, and we'll talk to you soon. Be here. Continue to tune in on our YouTube channel. We'll be live throughout the morning up until noon when we head out to practice. Thank you.